Hello and welcome. I am Scarperlock, and this is City of Heroes on the Rebirth server. We are with our level 35 Stalker Tiger Shrike, who has 3.447, almost 3.5 million experience, 300,000 to go to get to level 36, and our next set of enhancement slots. And we have 18.4 million influence, and we're on a story arc, the Path into Darkness, and we are asked to talk to Peter Stemets. So he says, Tiger Shrike, it's good to see you. Yeah, I got a word to expect you from good old Bentley. Man, Bentley and I used to hang out way back. We took on the path, Baron Zoria and his Circle of Thorns, all kinds of weird stuff. I was a different person then, literally. I remember more past lives than I can shake a stick at. Yeah, it's weird. I just deal with it. Anyway, I know where Bassie's grandson is. I already told him to expect you, so he should have his grandmother's journal for you. Let me warn you, though, that this road you're on is a dangerous one. The Masters of the Path of the Dark are already aware of your interference and are planning against you at every turn. You're on the verge of some big-time secrets, but the answers ain't going to give you much comfort. This is so going to get worse before it gets better, dude. Alright, that's a little weird, the dude thing in there. He didn't seem to be talking that way at the beginning, but in any case, we're going to Talos Island, and so we will just hop the train, which is right over there, and head to the island. Oops, got stuck, and of course I went to the water. Okay. I really do enjoy Founders Falls. It's a really cool zone. Very pretty. Lots of good music. Like this. Alright, so we're off on the train and we will go to Talos Island and get the journal from Sam Bassie. My guess is he's going to be fighting, like kidnapped, and I'm going to be fighting some council probably, or possibly Circle of Thorns when we get there. We're still on +2 missions. So far, we've been holding our own even against the Circle of Thorns and their nervous spectral demons and stuff, so I see no reason to adjust it. Got a good tray of enhancements. I'd prefer more purples than oranges, but the oranges aren't bad. So now we have to find Sam and 2 journals. Oh wow, okay, so this is a +3 lieutenant. This guy's going to be a little tough, but that's alright. Do a little extra damage, hit a little bit more, and pound. Yeah, the wolves are a bit tough just because they're so resistant to you, but they do take knockback damage quite often, and they do get knocked back a lot. Let's put it that way. Okay, so let's zoom in the map. Super speed back on. I want to move these guys over here because I typically like damage in the second column. Sorry, playing around with those inspirations. So now these guys are +2. And I hear a glowy. Man, this character is just so badass. I mean, she just kicks butt so well. It's extremely fun to do. And that's one of the things that was really, another thing that was sort of innovative about City of Heroes is that a lot of all the other MMOs, they always seem like they were trying to restrict you as much as possible from power. They didn't want you to feel powerful. They wanted you to, be struggling against a single white con. And City of Heroes kind of said, no, we want you to be a superhero. We want you to feel heroic. We want you to feel like you're super. I want you to feel like you're kicking butt and taking names, because that's what superheroes do. And they definitely got that to work in this game. right? You definitely feel like a superhero taking on these bosses that you have no business taking on and kicking butt. It's super cool. It feels very heroic. It feels very powerful. Now, of course, the counter argument to that is that if you're kicking butt so much, maybe it seems too easy, you know. Whoops, I did not mean to hit dull pain. I just misclicked. Hate when I do that. Certainly didn't need it against this guy. He's not doing anything to me because I keep knocking him down. Now, I don't want there to be no challenge, of course. But I do like the feel of a powerful character. There's an elevator. You think about like the movement powers that they give you. A lot of MMOs were very restrictive in the old days with the movements they allowed you. You had to get a mount. Even the mounts didn't move as fast as something like super speed. And so you were always being restricted. And yeah, I when City of Heroes came out, the amount of movement, the speed with which you could move through the zones was unprecedented. I mean, I can't remember which MMO it was. I don't remember if it was Vanguard or one of these. I can't remember which MMO it was, where like they gave you mounts, and all the mounts did was slowly move you slowly, but just a little less slowly than you go walking through the zone. And I remember arguing, I guess it wasn't Vanguard, I can't remember which game it was, arguing with a guildmate of mine who was into all this hardcore stuff and didn't like it whenever anything was easier, you know. And I said, look, when I'm a level 30 character going through a level 10 zone, why can't I just teleport from one city to another? Why do I have to ride my mount through there? It's like really annoying. It's just a time sink. And City of Heroes was not really big on the time sinks. They wanted you to be playing the game, so they made it so that you could quickly get to the mission door and got into the mission, because the whole point of the game was playing these missions. If you put a stopwatch on my Let's Plays and how much time we spend doing one thing versus another, we spend almost all of our time. I want to check this level a little bit more. Here we go. We spend almost all of our time in mission, right? So this is, I don't know, something like the third or fourth episode of the fourth season. I can't remember now, and I'm not looking while I'm playing. So we have done something like 65, 70 missions. And did Sam give me a clue? So we got the first part of Jenny's journal. It was Rodolfo Uzzano who got it rolling again. They say he had dreams of being a priest before ambition got the better of him. It was all digging around the Vatican records that showed him the way. We caught up with some of his thugs as they were beating information out of farmers in the countryside. Uzzano's goons were already preparing an expedition into some caves to find these beastly dark path types. From what we could gather, he thought he could talk to their leader, an immortal mad king called Emperor Augustulus. Henry got all portentous about the name, but I've never had a head for history and fell asleep. And then later it says, right, this is 1926 on April, this is in May. Still can't write about it. Sweet Henry tells me I should sleep, but every time I close my eyes I see Uzzano screaming at the end. Now we are on the run from the latest terror the Italian government has unleashed. A walking shadow they call Requiem. He hunts us everywhere. We only just escaped Italy, but not without loss. Requiem, that monster, tried to stop the train. Big Six went out to fight him. I could only hear the battle as Miss Akahara used her ninja arts to help us escape, but it was terribly violent and terribly short. Big Sis is dead. He was strong as a locomotive, indomitable in the face of evil, and had a heart as big as the world. And that fiend slew him in minutes. That beast Requiem gloated as he died. I tried to concentrate and fight back tears, but as I listened, all I had a sudden horrible shock. Henry says it couldn't be, but I recognized the voice, the tone when Requiem spoke. It was Uzzano. The dark monster who called Requiem is Rodolfo Uzzano. I would swear it. Now we need the last journal piece. So what I was saying is we've done about 60 or 70 episodes of this playthrough. That's about 35 hours, and my guess would be somewhere around 30 of the 35 hours, if not more, have been inside missions. Right? I pretty much only do that. That is the content of the game, and the developers wanted you experiencing that content, not wasting your time slowly snailing your way across the zones. Now, they did make you wait till level 14 to get your movement powers, but the low-level zones are fairly small, and you don't really have to have movement powers until you're in your teens anyway. And so, and of course now you can get movement powers at like level 4. But, you know, the developers of this game were trying to get you into the game, into the playing of your character, not just the running around the zones. And I think they did a really good job of that for the most part. Yes, when the game launched, there were a lot of street hunt missions. I skipped them all now, but you can see them being offered, and you used to have to do a lot of them before you got to your story arcs. That was because they didn't have enough content when they first launched. But after they had enough content, they kind of removed that requirement, and you could get straight into your story arcs and do that for most of your character's existence. And we've completed the mission. I thought there were some guys down here. Let's beat them up. So yeah, they wanted you going into your missions. They wanted you playing the missions. And they constantly were tweaking mission and story arc rewards and things like that to try and get us to do the missions more, rather than just, you know, farming Boomtown or something, which a lot of people were doing, but the developers really didn't want you to spend a lot of time doing. They wanted you playing your missions. And that's what I do. I love it. Okay. So the information in the journal is a lot to absorb. If Jenny Bassi was right, Requiem was an Italian functionary from the 20s named Rodolfo Uzzano. And it could be that he got his powers from the Path of the Dark. I know the council villain, Arakan? I don't know. Arakan, I guess. Claims to be fused with a Nictus, like those war shades you've seen running around. I've always assumed Requiem was the same story, but maybe there's something more mystical in his background after all. He's been in operation a lot longer. So then she says, I did a bit of digging, and I found out that all of those council agents who were sent overseas to join the Path of the Dark, they all booked flights through the same agency. From the low numbers of bookings and the way they're clustered, I think this agency may be a front for the council. No kidding. If you could investigate the place and locate their records, it could give us a clue as to how they were channeling these men out of the country. So now we need to go to Alice Park. And we will go ahead and see what we can find in this travel agency. So yeah, I mean, they made train stations to every zone so that you could go from one to the other very quickly. The zones are not that big, and when you add in travel powers, you can cross a zone in under a minute. And then you're going to be playing your mission for 20 minutes or something. And so you're just doing travel like 1 out of every 20 minutes, give or take, in City of Heroes, which is a much better ratio, if you're interested in doing that kind of content, than the type of ratio that existed in MMOs in 2004, plus or minus a year or two, when this game came out. Now, things are different now, because players want to get into the content, and developers seem to realize that, and they don't make you do all this ridiculous wandering around to get to the content anymore. But when City of Heroes first came out, they really were the first game to get you right into the content that I know of. Got a couple of inspirations, nothing we can use. Alright, now we're looking for the travel data. And we're actually, wow, like 7 beats into this level. So another episode or two, and we'll be leveling up. It is very nice not to have to wait around and make sure these guys res. Or don't res. The werewolves do a lot of damage, or night wolves. But that's it for him. So there's an elevator. You know, it's interesting, I was reading a forum post on D&D Beyond. As you guys know, I'm playing D&D, and I do read the forum just to stay abreast of things, and so Fairly New DM wrote a post where he was complaining because he had this group of players, and they were attacking a bandit lair, and there was some aberration demon type creature that Kirota's called that was sort of enslaved to the bandits, and what his players did was they managed to sort of trick, or no, bribe, convince the aberration to work with them and to help them against the bandits. And so this thing started helping them, right? And he said, we had this problem because then partway through the adventure, one of them decided to steal from the aberration that was helping them. So the aberration turned on them and they got into a battle, and then the bandits heard them. And so he made perception rolls for the bandits, they succeeded, and then a bunch of bandits showed up, and all of a sudden the party, just as they finished fighting and beating this demon and were tired and beaten up from it, these like 2 or 3 waves of bandits show up and start attacking them. And he said he kept trying to hint to the players that they should leave, that they should get away, and they stayed too long, and they got pretty weakened, and they were pretty hurt. And then when they finally got out, one of them fell into a pit trap and went unconscious, and the other guys were trying to help him, and they fell into or something. And so he said it was pretty clear they were going to lose, and he told them, you know, that the bandits do not appear to be attempting to strike to kill. They're probably going to capture you. And the players apparently said, you know what, we don't want to play in a game where we are having to do prison breaks. We don't like this. Let's just commit. They all committed suicide and said we want to start new characters. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty extreme overreaction to maybe not liking some aspect of an adventure. And so we were, you know, sort of talking on the forum back and forth about like why the players might have done this. And one guy had a really interesting insight. He said maybe these guys come from a video game background, right? And if they're video gamers, what they would know from video games if they've never played D&D, because apparently they're all new players, what they would know from video games is that in video games you kind of leave no stone unturned, right? And you don't just leave a treasure sitting there because you may need it later. And I can't tell you how many video games I've played over the years where I had to basically go at a character with my character and steal and take loot because if you didn't do that, you weren't going to have enough money to buy enough equipment to win at the later levels of the adventure. And so you really had no choice but to be a thief, even if you didn't want to be a thief. The Divinity Original Sin games, both 1 and 2, are notorious for this. At least to me, they're notorious. I like the games, but one of the things that drives me crazy is how insanely expensive it is just to get your spells for your own class. And in order to be able to do it, my friend and I used to steal paintings and stuff from shop owners and everything. We found all these ways to do it without getting caught, just because if you didn't do that, I mean, he and I actually had an argument about this, because I said I don't want to steal. My character was a paladin or something, and he's like, if we don't steal, we're not going to have the money to buy the spells we need to get to through the higher level content. And so what this one person on the forum was saying is that if these are video gamers and they're used to the fact that in video games you pretty much have to steal and take every bit of loot, defeat every enemy, or you won't have enough experience or power or whatever it is to succeed at the later levels of the game, these guys might be just trying to video game it, right? And they just don't realize that you don't have to do that in a tabletop game, because you have a dungeon master, and the DM will ensure that the ending mission is right for you regardless of how much loot you have. And in fact, the DM might very well, I certainly would, reward you as a player for not betraying people, stealing, and so forth, if doing that is not in character for you. And so, thinking about this game, right? What have I done? I've often gone through and just found the glowy, but other times I fight everybody. And I could be just looking for the glowy in here, but again, I'm a video gamer, right? And I know that the way this game is set up, if I just run through the missions and skip all the content except the glowies and the bosses, that I won't have enough experience, and at the end of 5 levels, I'm going to run out of contacts and story arcs, and I'm going to have nothing to do until we go to another, until we get to another level range, right? And get to the next 5 level range. And so that's the video gamer in me, right? So it's just sort of interesting how people from different, with different gaming experience, even though they're all gamers, look at things differently. And how somebody might be playing D&D like, quote unquote, like a video game, because that's all they know. Alright, we should be finding the travel data. And we got it. Right, now see, I'm leaving these guys. But again, if you're trying to max out your XP gain, you would have to take them out. I don't think we need to do that. We're already at 7 beads. So that's fine. But it's just interesting the different perspectives that people have on how to approach games. Should you clean out the whole dungeon? Right? One of the things he said is if you don't have experience either in video games or in D&D, you might not realize that it's a good idea to clean the dungeon out as you go in, because if you don't do that, you're going to have to face it all on the way out, or maybe if an alarm is raised, you face everybody at once. And we have seen a couple times here where I've suffered the consequences of that, where I sneak my way all the way in, and then an ambush starts, and now I'm having to walk my way out, not only through the ambush, but through the guys I didn't beat up in the first place, right? And as somebody who knows how video games are structured, let alone how this game is structured, I shouldn't do that, right? I should make sure that the way is clear going out as I go in, and clean up anybody who's in my way, or who might be in my way in the future. Alright. So we're going to go to Brickstown now, and to Marisol Valenzuela, who's going to be giving us some insights Then I think we'll stop for the night. Let's take a look. We are at... I just let this load in. We are at 25 minutes. So yeah, we'll go to Marisol and then we will stop. One thing I will not miss when we're done with this character is super speed. I know I've said that before. And one thing I will miss is going to be hide. Alright, Marisol. What do you got? They will be sorry, Tiger Shrike. I'll be pleased to... This will be easy, Tiger Shrike. I will be pleased to decrypt this file for you. Any blow struck against the council is good. However, there may be... Hang on, be careful, however, they may have strong defenses. So we need to search a base for clues. But we're going to do that next time, guys. For now, I'm going to stop. I am Scrapperlock, and this has been City of Heroes.